Welcome back for another deep dive.
Always exciting to dig into these fascinating topics.
And today we're tackling a concept that's both familiar and a bit mysterious.
You're talking about karma, right?
Karma it is, but we're going beyond the simple what goes around comes around idea.
Yeah, we're getting into some specifics. Your notes actually lay out 12 laws that connect actions to results.
12 laws. All right, color me intrigued. It's going to be way more in-depth than just good vibes and bad vibes.
Definitely. No fortune cookie wisdom here. We're getting into some serious cause and effect. Unpacking how our actions shape our reality, both in obvious and not so obvious ways.
Okay, before we get lost in the karmic cosmos, can we just get clear on what we mean by action here? Are we talking strictly physical stuff, or is the scope a bit broader?
It's definitely broader than you might think.
Okay, good, because I tend to think a lot action. Does that count as action in this framework?
Oh, it absolutely does. These notes define action as anything we do consciously. Thinking, speaking, actually doing things, or even choosing not to do something.
So it's about intention, the deliberate choices we're making.
Exactly. It's the conscious engagement with the world around us.
So my intense daydreaming about winning a Grammy for this podcast doesn't count.
Sadly, no. Involuntary stuff like dreaming or even breathing doesn't factor in here. It's all about conscious choice.
Got it. Now, these notes also mention visible and invisible results, which is where things start to get a little mind-bending for me.
Yeah, that's where we go beyond the surface level of karma and start to see how far-reaching our actions really are.
Can you break down the difference between those two types of results for me? What's visible and what's hiding in the invisible realm?
Sure. Think of visible results as those immediate, obvious outcomes. You study hard, you ace the test, you put in the work, you get that promotion, the clear cause and effect situations.
Those are the results we can pretty easily track, right?
Exactly. They're measurable, often immediate, and we can usually draw a straight line between the action and the outcome.
Okay, that makes sense. But then there are these invisible results. What are those all about? What makes them so elusive?
Invisible results are those ripple effects. The consequences that aren't so obvious or immediate, they might show up later, sometimes in unexpected ways.
Okay, so like delayed reactions. We take an action today, but the full impact might not be felt for days, weeks, even years down the line.
That's a great way to put it. They're like the echoes of our actions, reverberating through time.
Okay, I need an example. What would an invisible result look like in, let's say, everyday life?
Let's say you go out of your way to help a colleague with a project, even though you're swamped yourself.
Been there.
Right. It's a generous act, but it might not have any immediate visible payoff.
No bonus in your paycheck for being a good teammate.
Exactly. But then maybe down the road, that colleague recommends you for a new opportunity or steps up to help you when you need it most. Those are the subtle, often unexpected ways those invisible results can manifest.
Whoa, okay. So it's like planting a seed today, but not knowing what kind of tree might grow from it years down the line? I could see how that could be both exciting and a little scary.
It definitely adds a layer of complexity to our understanding of karma. It's not just about those immediate consequences, but the far-reaching impact our choices have.
And that brings us to the heart of these 12 laws, right? They offer a framework for understanding this complex web of action and consequence, helping us navigate this karmic landscape with a bit more awareness.
Exactly. And to understand this complex web, let's start with law number 1.
All right, hit me with it. Law number 1 of karma, what does it say?
Every action, no matter how big or small, has a consequence. Nothing is wasted. Even if we don't see those results right away, something is always being set in motion.
Okay, so even scrolling mindlessly through social media has a karmic impact, suddenly feeling very aware of my choices.
Like I said, no action is wasted. It's not about judging every little thing we do, but about recognizing that we are constantly creating those ripples, whether we're aware of it or not.
Constantly creating ripples. Got it. So what's law number 2?
Well, law number 2 takes that idea a step further. It states that our current state, where we are in this moment, is always a result of our past actions.
So there's no such thing as random luck or pure chance.
Not according to these laws. We are where we are today because of choices we've made, both conscious and unconscious.
Okay, to use a very relevant example, if I'm currently enjoying the success of this podcast, it's not JST because of my brilliant co-host and our amazing team. It's also because of past actions I've taken.
Exactly. Those past experiences, the skills you've honed, the relationships you've built, they've all led you to this point.
It's a reminder that we're not just starting from scratch each day. We're always building on the foundation of our past choices. So what's the next law?
Well, it's all about motivation. Law number 3 emphasizes that the intention behind our actions, the why behind what we do, has a huge impact on those invisible results. It's not just about what we do, but why we do it.
Okay, give me an example. How does motivation actually change the outcome? Because, honestly, that seems a bit tricky to grasp.
Your notes have a pretty powerful example, actually. Imagine someone accidentally causing harm, but in two completely different scenarios. A burglar who accidentally harms someone while committing a crime, driven by greed and fear.
Okay, I'm seeing where you're going with this.
Right. And then you have a surgeon who accidentally causes harm during a very complex surgery while trying to save a life. The action itself has a tragic outcome in both cases. But the motivations behind those actions, one fueled by selfish desires, the other by a desire to help, will shape the invisible karmic consequences.
Wow, that's a heavy example, but really drives home the point. It's not just about the act itself, but the driving force behind it.
And that's where intentionality becomes so important.
Okay, so we've established that every action has a consequence. Our present is shaped by our past choices, and motivation plays a key role. So what's next on this karmic journey? What does law number 4 add to the mix?
Well, law number 4 throws a bit of a curveball. It suggests that we can't only create good karma.
Wait, what? Even when we're trying to do good, there might be some unforeseen downsides. That seems kind of discouraging.
It's a humbling thought for sure, but it encourages us to approach our actions with a sense of humility and awareness. It's a reminder that we're not always in control of the full ripple effect of our choices.
So even with the best of intentions, there might be unintended consequences.
Exactly. We can't always predict how things will play out, even when our hearts are in the right place.
Okay, so how do we navigate that? If even good intentions can have unintended consequences, how do we make choices without getting paralyzed by fear or doubt?
Well, that's where law number 5 comes in, offering 2 paths for navigating this tricky terrain.
2 paths, okay?
Yeah.
I'm ready. Lay them on me. What's the first path we can take?
The first path involves a concept called karma yoga. Have you heard of that before?
It rings a bell, but I'm a little fuzzy on the details. Remind me.
Essentially, karma yoga is about acting without being overly attached to the outcome. It's about doing what we believe is right, fulfilling our duties without obsessing over the results.
So, like a teacher who focuses on educating their students without getting hung up on test scores or accolades, or a musician who creates music from the heart without being driven solely by fame or fortune.
Perfect examples. Karma yoga is about letting go of the need to control the outcome and finding fulfillment in the act itself.
That makes sense. So what's the second path to navigating those invisible results?
The second path is a bit more complex. It involves achieving a state of being where our actions no longer generate karma at all.
Wait, hold up. Actions that don't create any karma, how is that even possible?
It's a concept that delves into the nature of the ego, selflessness, and reaching a state of being where actions flow from a deeper, more universal place.
Okay, that's a deep dive for another time, perhaps. But before we get too far down that cosmic rabbit hole, can we stick with the 12 laws a bit longer? What's next on our list?
Well, let's shift gears for a bit and talk about choice and consequence. How much control do we actually have over this karmic process?
Yeah, I was just thinking about that. We've established all these intricate connections, but where does free will come in? Or are we just along for the karmic ride?
That's where law number 6 comes in, bringing free will into the picture. It states that we have complete freedom to choose our actions.
So we are in the driver's seat, at least to some extent.
Exactly. We're not just puppets of fate. We have the power to decide what we do, what we say, and even what we think. We have agency.
Okay, so we can't just blame our bad choices on bad karma. We have to own up to our decisions. Personal responsibility is in play here.
Absolutely. But, and this is a big but, law number 7 comes in to remind us that while we have total freedom to choose our actions, we have absolutely zero control over when or how those actions will bear fruit.
Wait, hold on. So I'm trying to wrap my head around this. We get to choose what we do, but we have no say in the timing or the magnitude of the consequences? That seems a bit unfair.
It can definitely feel that way, right? We might take what we think is a small action, and it creates huge ripples. Or we might make a huge effort that seems to just vanish into thin air.
So it's less like a simple equation and more like chaos theory, a butterfly flapping its wings in Brazil, causing a hurricane in Florida.
That's an interesting way to think about it. It's not a linear, predictable process. There's a certain amount of mystery woven into the fabric of karma.
Okay, I can sort of see that. So I might make a choice today with the best intentions, but the full impact of that choice might not be apparent for months, years, even decades.
Precisely. And that's where the invisible aspect of karma really comes into play. We might think an action is done and dusted, but its karmic echoes could be rippling out in ways we can't even imagine.
This is making me rethink that impulsive online shopping spree I went on last week. What if the karmic bill comes due when I can least afford it?
Well, that brings us to law number 8, which offers a bit of solace, but also a dose of reality.
Lay it on me. I need some reassurance right now.
Law number 8 states that while we can't change the past, what's done is done, we can always take further actions to create new results.
Okay, so no cosmic undo button, no way to completely erase past blunders. But we're not totally stuck either. We can course correct, make amends, and try to create a better future.
Exactly. It's not about dwelling in regret or getting paralyzed by guilt. It's about acknowledging our mistakes, learning from them, and using those lessons to make more informed choices moving forward. So that online shopping spree, maybe you make a commitment to donate some clothes to charity or set a stricter budget for yourself next month.
Okay, so every experience, even those we'd rather forget, can be a stepping stone on our path of growth. I like
Yes.
that. What's next?
Well, laws 9, 10, and 11 are all about this idea of continuous improvement, recognizing that the journey of growth never truly ends.
Okay, I'm always up for a little self-improvement. Hit me with law number 9.
Law number 9 reminds us that no matter how skilled or accomplished we become, there's always room to do better. We can always refine our approach, learn new things, and strive for excellence in everything we do.
So let's say, hypothetically, we win a Grammy for this podcast.
Yeah.
There's still room for improvement.
Absolutely. It's about embracing that growth mindset, recognizing that the learning never truly ends. There's always another level to reach, another skill to master, another perspective to consider.
All right, I can definitely get behind that. What about law number 10? How does that one fit into this continuous improvement theme?
Law number 10 gets even more granular. It suggests that even the outcome of an action could always be a bit better. It speaks to our inherent drive to strive for more, to push boundaries, to constantly seek that improvement.
Okay, so even if this podcast reaches millions of listeners and becomes a global phenomenon, we shouldn't rest on our laurels. There's always room to expand our reach, deepen our impact, and connect with even more people.
Exactly. It's about setting those ambitious goals, never settling for complacency, and always looking for ways to make a greater contribution.
I'm sensing a theme here. Keep going, keep growing. But isn't there a risk of becoming too attached to action? Of getting caught up in the doing and the striving and losing sight of the bigger picture?
That's a great point, and it's where those two paths we discussed earlier, karma yoga and transcending the ego, come back into play. They help us find that balance between effort and attachment, staying connected to a deeper meaning behind our actions.
Right. It's not just about the doing, it's about the being. Aligning our actions with our values, our purpose, and a deeper understanding of how everything is connected. So we've covered 11 laws, each one adding another layer to this karmic landscape.
Yeah.
What's the final piece? What does law number 12 have to say?
Law number 12 brings it all together by emphasizing the importance of dharma.
Dharma. Okay. That's a word I've heard, but to be honest, I'm not totally sure I understand it in this context.
Essentially, dharma refers to ethical principles, a code of conduct. It's about aligning our actions with righteousness and harmony, making sure our choices are in accordance with universal laws and moral values.
So it's not enough to just act. We also need to make sure those actions are guided by a moral compass, like an internal ethical check and balance.
That's a great way to put it. It's like having a filter for our choices, making sure they're not just driven by self-interest or those short-sighted goals. We have to consider the ethical implications, the impact on others, the long-term consequences.
It's about taking responsibility, not just for what we do, but why we do it, and what kind of impact we're having on the world around us.
Exactly. And that's why this 12th law is so crucial. It reminds us that karma isn't just about individual actions and results. It's about weaving our choices into a larger tapestry of interconnectedness, contributing to a more harmonious and just world.
Wow. This has been quite a deep dive. We've explored these 12 laws of karma. We've unpacked this intricate relationship between action and results and uncovered both the visible and invisible forces at play.
It's definitely a lot to take in, but even just understanding those basic principles can have a profound impact on how we approach our lives. It shifts our perspective.
So for our listener who's been hanging on every word, diligently absorbing all this karmic wisdom, what's the key takeaway? Why should they care about these 12 laws? How does this apply to their life?
I think the most important takeaway is the realization that we're not just passive bystanders in our own lives, we're active creators. Every choice we make, every action we take is shaping our present and our future, both in ways we can see and in ways we can't.
It's like we're holding the pen, writing the story of our own lives, one action at a time. And those actions are having a ripple effect, shaping the world around us too.
And it's not just our individual stories, right? It's like we're all contributing to this collective narrative. Our actions are rippling out, impacting the lives of others, and contributing to the collective karma of humanity.
It really makes you realize that every choice matters. Every action has weight. It's both empowering and humbling at the same time.
It really is, and I think that's where the true beauty of understanding karma lies. It empowers us to make more conscious choices, more compassionate choices, and ultimately more meaningful choices, knowing that we're not just living for ourselves, but contributing to something much larger.
All right, so let's bring this all home. What's the one thing you want our listener to walk away with today? What's the essence of all this karmic wisdom we've been exploring?
I'd say this. Remember that you're not just reacting to the world, you're actively shaping your future with every thought, word, and deed. Even when you can't see the direct connection, those invisible results of your actions are constantly weaving the tapestry of your life.
It's a powerful reminder that we're not just along for the ride. We have the power to create, to shape, to influence, and to make a difference.
And on that note, we'll leave you to ponder this intricate and fascinating world of karma and how you choose to shape your own unique journey. Until next time, keep diving deep.